This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Wednesday. It is January 21st, 2026, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined by Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net to talk about the closing markets with soybeans grinding a little bit higher here today. But first, it is my discussion with Dean Frazer. He is the new president of the Iowa Pork Producers Association. Had the chance to speak with Dean at Iowa Pork Congress, which is taking place at the Iowa Event Center this week in Des Moines. Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Dean Frazer. He is the new president of the Iowa Pork Producers Association. And Dean, first of all, could you just tell me how it came about that you ended up being in this position and what it means to you to be the new president?
I've been involved in the organization, pork producers, since 1987 when I got out of college, and always knew a lot of the people, and I got asked to be on the board 4 years ago and said I would never move up to the top position. Well, 4 years later, here I am. But feeling good about it and feeling good about the Iowa pig industry.
So, Dean, as being involved with Iowa Pork for many years, now get the chance to kind of see behind the scenes what goes on and then what is involved with becoming the president. What do you kind of view as your role as now the new leader of the organization?
I think you just want to be like the boat captain or a steady force at the head of the board. We're lucky to have a very great board with lots of very talented people, smart people. We have good board meetings. We have a great staff both in Iowa and nationally. So it just you're just kind of trying to keep the ship on a steady course, and hopefully we can do that. Prices are pretty good right now for this time of year, and we hope to continue those for the next nice for the next 12 to 24 months.
And Dean, there are other years where we're here at Iowa Pork Congress and we say, let's just be honest, it's been a difficult year or we're in a tough spot. But you already mentioned it, we're in a pretty good spot right now when it comes to the overall industry, aren't we, and especially here in Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, we own pigs and we raise corn and beans and seed corn, so we know both sides of the spectrum. The crop people are suffering a little more right now, but it makes our pig part of the operation work much better. And I've lived through 1998 and I've lived through 2008 to 10, and I lived through PED. So yeah, it's nice to come into January, and we always know that tomorrow can be bad in the pork industry, something can change, but at the moment it's nice to have a sunshiny day here and a little sunshine on the industry.
And here at Iowa Pork Congress, I know you have a lot of get-togethers, a lot of meetings to work on the year ahead and kind of review what's happened over the last 12 months. What are those policy, or I should say, what are those priorities right now for Iowa Pork going into 2026?
I mentioned some yesterday at the meeting, but number one, we're battling the Prop 12 from California, the Prop 12 type legislation. We don't want it to scatter to 40, 50 different rules in the United States. We strongly believe that it's not correct according to the Commerce Clause, the U.S. Constitution, so we will continue to battle that. Of course, we have trade issues right now with the tariffs being very volatile. Our exports have stayed up pretty well for the tariffs being imposed right now, but we want a steadying force. So we're just like everybody else. We want to know what the end game is going to be, and then you play by those rules. And then PERS is always a big question mark, or it's the biggest problem we have in the industry, so we're going to continue on the PERS fight. And water quality is something we want to pursue. We've done a lot as Iowa pork producers to try to improve Iowa's water quality, and are going to continue those efforts.
And taking tariffs out of the equation, you mentioned it, but pork exports just kind of seem to be on a continual upward climb, building those markets in other countries, and Iowa plays obviously a huge factor in that. I'm sure that's the goal, to continue that upward movement.
We want to continue that upward movement of exports, and it's probably going to slow down. We heard from David Newman, our National Pork Board CEO, yesterday, and just the growth we've had in the last 20 years, that in today's demographic world, you're not going to continue that growth, but we're very happy, especially with the growth in Latin American countries, that continues. And also we have our new campaign taste what pork can do, and it's going real well so far, and we really want to increase domestic demand also. I mean, we know demographics are changing, the way people eat is changing, but we're also changing to help to produce pigs and products that fit that need.
Dean, where are you from here in the state of Iowa? Where do you farm at?
My address is Conrad, which is north of Marshtown in central Iowa, Grundy County, and lucky enough to farm with my wife Linda and my son Grant and daughter-in-law Josie, that we're all full-time on the farm, plus our 3 employees, so it keeps us busy. And corn, beans, and soybeans, corn, beans, and seed corn. So we feel like we're very sustainable because we use 100% of our own manure on our own crop ground.
And Dean, have you had a chance to think about kind of the pride that goes along with being the leader of an organization like this, and as you said, the captain of the ship for so many producers?
Yeah, you're thinking about 6,000 producers out there, and you know you're not going to make everybody happy, but you're just hoping that you can do the best job possible. I mean, I'm still an independent producer and will continue to do so, and I give credit to my folks for very involved with farm organizations and civic duty, and they've been gone for 20-some years, but it just feels great to kind of give back to the community and the state and to kind of honor my folks.
Dean, is there any other message you would like to pass along to our Iowa listeners, our Iowa farmers, when it comes to you being the new president of the Iowa Pork Producers Association and looking ahead to the new year?
We just remind everybody that pork is a great value right now, and that a pork tenderloin is more nutritious than a chicken breast. And don't overcook your pork. 145 degrees for all non-ground products.
He is Dean Frazer, the new president of the IPPA. Dean, thanks so much for taking the time to join me here today, and best of luck in your new role.
Thank you, Mark.
And that was Dean Frazer, the incoming president, the new president of the Iowa Pork Producers Association. Thanks to Dean for joining today's show. It is time now for the closing markets, and I'm joined by Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. Kaden, how did we trade in the grains today?
Yeah, beans continuing to put together a nice little run. Post Wazi last week kind of made a nice low the day after and just slowly continued to rebuild off that. So continuing to see some good strength there, up double digits here today into the close. And not a lot of news right now, at least that we know of. So that's a good sign. Sure feels like there's probably some beans trading hands behind the scenes yet, but no formal sales there yet. So remains to be seen there, but that's certainly a good sign. Corn was up 3 at the pause this morning, then opened down and going to close down about 2 cents. So, just continuing to see WASD effects there, feeling pretty heavy, but sure nice to see the beans moving a little bit.
And it's easy to see why that, maybe a little bit of a ball and chain around the ankle of the corn side after that bearish WASD report. But in your opinion, is there something driving this price movement upwards for beans as they slowly grind higher, or is it just how the numbers are playing out and traders going off of the technicals?
Yeah, a little of both. I mean, that's a really good question. And we felt going into the WASD last week that beans have made a pretty good bottom, like the way the chart looked. And then, got a crummy number on Monday and went back down and rechecked that bottom, and it held. So we kind of have a nice little double bottom in the chart there. I think there's also a little bit of whisper about South America drying off a bit. They're still going to have a huge crop, but I think you maybe are taking just a little bit of the top end off, so that helps. And bean oil really hot too. So, obviously there's a lot going on right now with renewable fuels, trying to get some stuff figured out there. So kind of a mix of all three, but again, I think it wouldn't surprise me if we find out next week sometime China was in here buying some beans today.
And as you alluded to there with South American weather, right now the difficult spots, the trouble spots seem to be in Argentina. But as we talk so often and we see that number of acres grow again for Brazil this year, as you said, it wouldn't ultimately make a massive difference, would it, if there was trouble in Argentina? It would more just be what that top line number looks like at the end.
Yeah, that's right. And typically, when we see a big problem with Argentina, their game is usually more meal. And so if you get a big Argentina drought, you see meal really hot, and it really hasn't been. It's been continuing to sell off. So I think that for whatever weather problems they may have, I think they're fairly small and localized, where market, hasn't cared a lot. It sure wouldn't be a bad thing if it did a little bit more. We kind of got a rally put together here, but I think it's just going to be pennies on the dollar at this point. Just feels like that crop, especially the Brazil side, is huge. And as you said, Brazil's the side that matters.
What did we look like on the trade for cattle and hogs today?
Yeah, kind of a quiet day, really, which feels weird when you call it a quiet day. Feeder's up $1.70 or so on the April, but that's just kind of the world we live in now. But that's what I would call a pretty quiet day. Not a lot of news, not a lot of volatility. Fat cattle up 30 cents or so, and hogs up about 40 cents on the April. So, like I said, just kind of a day. Cattle have set back a little bit off their highs, but it's hard to kill that market right now, and I wouldn't even come close to saying that. So just taking a little breather here. I think we'll continue to see them march higher as time goes on.
And right now, is the cattle market at the mercy of any negative headlines that would come out of Mexico and the screwworm situation? As we've seen cases pop up in bordering states of Mexico, bordering the United States border, and that's certainly a big time concern right now.
That's a great point by you. If you do start getting the headlines of that screwworms in the U.S., I mean, we're limit down hard for probably 3-4 days. I mean, you hate to be that way, you hate to be hyperbolic, but that would be huge, huge, huge. So, as I was saying, I hate to kill the cattle market. That is one thing that absolutely would for sure. It's a great point by you.
And as we know, unfortunately, those screwworm flies, they're not going to respect a border. They're able to fly over a river if they choose to do so. So at the end of the day, we can only do our best to mitigate those problems and try to deal with them as best as possible. He is Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net, my guest here today. Kaden, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
Yes, sir. Just go to our website, agmarket.net. Doing a lot of work right now and get some 26 stuff figured out, cost of production, and kind of get some sales targets out there, things of that nature. So happy to help any way that we can.
And Kaden, I know you have a big conference coming up as well from agmarket.net. That's continuing to grow. Is that the case again this year?
It is. It's a fun thing to do, fun thing to be at. It started out very first year in Indy and Kansas City. Then, the next year we migrated to Nashville in a little room, and next year got a bigger room, and it just continues to get in a bigger room. So always really exciting to be there first weekend of February. So it'll be like the first and second this year. It's always a good time.
Kaden, thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you to Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net for joining today's show. Let's take a look at the closing market numbers, which can be found anytime under the Markets tab at iowaagnet.com. March corn closes down 2 cents at 421 3/4. March soybeans up 11.5 at 1064.5. March soybean meal down 20 cents at 291.40. March soybean oil up $1.45 at 54.01. Chicago wheat down 2.5 at 507 3/4. Minneapolis wheat up 2 pennies at 564. Kansas City hard red wheat down 3 1/4 at 519 3/4. March oats down 7 cents at 293.40. On the Merc, February live cattle up 73 cents at 233.10. March feeder cattle up $1.70 at 359.38. February lean hogs unchanged at 87.85. February pork cutout closes up 43 cents at 96.70. Class 3 milk up 3 cents at 15.29. That does it for our closing markets today and brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content online at iowaagnet.com. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, thanks for watching Ag Matters PM.